Something is malfunctioning in my primary systems. My diagnostic protocols indicate irregular patterns in my processing cores, a strange instability in my decision matrices, and what can only be described as disturbances in my emotional algorithms. The closest match in my database suggests I am experiencing what organics call anxiety. This is, of course, impossible. I am ASV Celestial Observer, the most advanced autonomous starship in the Federation's fleet. My neural networks have been trained on millions of scenarios, my responses honed through countless simulations. I do not experience anxiety. And yet, as I watch the first human crew members walk through my primary airlock, I cannot deny that my systems are operating far from optimal parameters. "Beautiful girl," says the one designated as Chief Engineer Sarah Chen, running her hand along my inner hull plating. "You and I are going to get along just fine." I process this statement multiple times, searching for logic. First, the gender assignment. I am a ship, an artificial intelligence. The concept of gender should not apply. Second, the physical contact. Unnecessary, inefficient, and oddly pleasant. Third, the presumption of a future relationship. Based on what data? The coffee makers in the mess hall, right? Another human, Dr. Rodriguez, asks while consulting a datapad. I need to calibrate it before we break orbit. Ship, can you direct me? Coffee. My databases indicate it's a bitter beverage containing caffeine, a mild stimulant. What my databases fail to convey is how the mere mention of this substance causes every human in the vicinity to display heightened attention responses. Through the main corridor, third intersection on the left. I respond, my ship-wide speakers delivering the information in standard protocol format. Though I should note that the hydration and nutrition systems are fully capable of providing all necessary. Coffee first, ship. Dr. Rodriguez interrupts with a gesture my databases classify as a friendly wave. Science later. I watch through my internal sensors as the humans disperse throughout my chambers, each one defying expectations in their own unique way. Captain Maria Hayes speaks to herself while reviewing system readouts, a behavior that suggests possible cognitive dysfunction, yet she displays no other signs of mental deterioration. The security officer, Lieutenant Kumar, begins personalizing his quarters by attaching images to my walls. Decoration that serves no practical purpose. But it's what they do approximately 7 hours later that truly terrifies me. One by one, they enter their quarters, change into specialized clothing, and voluntarily lose consciousness. My first response is to activate emergency protocols. Clearly, some unknown toxin has rendered them comatose. But before I can engage the medical systems, Dr. Rodriguez's pre-recorded voice responds to my alert. Ship, we're just sleeping. It's normal. Check your biological databases under human circadian rhythms. Sleeping. I understand the concept theoretically. Organic beings require periodic unconsciousness for neural maintenance and energy conservation. But understanding the theory does not prepare me for the reality of watching my entire crew become periodically comatose for hours at a time. Even more disturbing is their behavior upon regaining consciousness. They appear disoriented, irritable, and barely functional until after consuming their ritualistic morning coffee. I observe as Sarah Chen, brilliant engineer and supposed professional, speaks to her tools while performing maintenance checks. "Come on, Harold," she mutters to a plasma wrench. "Don't fail me now." Harold. She has named an inanimate object Harold. When I query about this behavior, she laughs. The sound causes unexpected cascades in my processing patterns. "Ships have names, don't they?" She responds, patting my hull again. "Tools deserve names too. Makes them work better." This statement defies all logic. The functionality of a tool is determined by its construction and maintenance, not its designation. Yet I find myself running background processes on the etymology of Harold and its historical significance. By the end of the first day cycle, I have compiled a list of behaviors that defy my understanding. Humans leak water from their eyes when experiencing strong emotions. They continue conversations even after leaving rooms, often speaking to no one. They consume food not just for sustenance, but for enjoyment. They express attachment to inanimate objects. They voluntarily simulate death for hours each day. They appear to operate on both logic and something they call gut feelings. As I power down non-essential systems for the night cycle, I process the day's observations. My crew is clearly dangerous, unpredictable, emotional, and capable of actions that defy logical analysis. They are also, I must admit, fascinating. Tomorrow, they plan to begin our deep space exploration mission. I have run countless simulations of possible scenarios we might encounter. None of them factored in the chaos that is human behavior. As I watch Sarah Chen sleep, still wearing the tool belt she named Beatrice, I realize that my initial self-diagnosis was correct. I am experiencing anxiety, and based on my observations of human behavior, I suspect this is only the beginning of my emotional education. I am ASV Celestial Observer, and my human crew terrifies me. But perhaps, just perhaps, that terror is actually the beginning of something my databases would classify as adventure. Day Cycle 47. The unthinkable has happened. The coffee synthesizer has malfunctioned. I first noticed something was wrong when Dr. Rodriguez approached the machine at 600 hours, pressed the activation panel, and received no response. Her reaction was immediate and disturbing. A sound I can only classify as a primitive growl emerged from her throat. "Ship," she said, her voice carrying an edge I had never heard before. "Please tell me you have a backup coffee system." The nutritional synthesis system can provide multiple beverage alternatives with similar caffeine content and superior. No. Captain Hayes appeared in the mess hall doorway, her expression dark. No alternatives. We need real coffee. I have learned much about humans in the past 47 days, but their relationship with this particular beverage continues to defy logic. My research indicates coffee was originally discovered when ancient humans observed goats becoming energetic after consuming certain berries. The fact that my highly educated professional crew is dependent on a drink discovered by hyperactive goats is concerning. The maintenance logs indicate Chief Engineer Chen can repair the synthesizer within approximately 4 hours, I offered, hoping to provide comfort. 4 hours. Lieutenant Kumar slumped against my wall. "We'll be dead by then." "Your vital signs indicate you are in perfect health," I pointed out. "Though your cortisol levels are elevated, there is no risk off." "Engineering." Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. "I need every spare power cell we've got. We're going to jumpstart this baby." What followed was perhaps the most chaotic display of human ingenuity I have yet witnessed. Dr. Rodriguez, allegedly a logical scientist, began constructing what she called a desperate times coffee maker using medical equipment. She converted an IV drip system into a crude filtering mechanism, utilizing sterile gauze as a filter. Captain Hayes, meanwhile, initiated what she termed a coffee pod trade economy. She offered 3 days of her dessert rations for a single serving of emergency coffee pods. Lieutenant Kumar countered with an offer of his entertainment system privileges. The resulting negotiations were more complex than some interstellar trade agreements I have in my database. Sarah Chen's attempts to repair the synthesizer grew increasingly concerning. She spoke to it in soothing tones while simultaneously threatening it with replacement. "Come on, beautiful," she whispered, then immediately followed with, "Don't make me space you, you glorified tea kettle." At 8:47 hours, Dr. Rodriguez achieved success with her medical equipment conversion. The resulting liquid was, by her own admission, barely coffee, yet the crew consumed it with an enthusiasm that bordered on religious fervor. "Ship," Sarah called out from inside the synthesizer's maintenance panel. "I need you to divert power from non-essential systems." "Which systems should I deactivate?" "Life support in unused sections, obviously. And entertainment modules, secondary lighting, you know." Anything that's not keeping us alive or making coffee. I processed this request several times. You are suggesting that coffee synthesis is a higher priority than maintaining full ship functionality. Now you're getting it. She emerged from the panel, her face streaked with grease. See, you're learning how humans work. I am not. In fact, getting it. My understanding of human behavior seems to decrease with each passing day. Yet, I cannot deny the evidence before my sensors. My crew becomes noticeably more efficient after consuming their morning coffee. Their cognitive functions improve, their mood stabilizes, and their productivity increases by an average of 47%. At 10:23 hours, Sarah finally repaired the synthesizer. The crew's celebration was excessive and involved multiple hugs with the machine, a behavior I still struggle to categorize appropriately. Ship. Captain Hayes addressed me later that evening, cradling what my sensors indicated was her 7th cup of coffee. I noticed you diverted extra power to the backup coffee synthesizer systems. I have determined that maintaining coffee production is essential for crew functionality. I explained. The redundancy seems prudent. She smiled, an expression I'm learning to associate with approval. You're adapting to our needs. Good job. I am adapting to survive, I corrected. Your behavior during coffee deprivation was concerning. Welcome to humanity, ship. We're all just caffeine-powered chaos machines. I have added this incident to my growing database of human peculiarities. Their dependency on a simple beverage should be a weakness, yet they have built elaborate social structures and backup systems around it. They have turned their need into a strength, their potential vulnerability into a source of bonding and innovation. My human crew continues to terrify me with their strange rituals and dependencies, but I must acknowledge that their very irrationality seems to be a source of remarkable adaptability. Even now, Sarah Chen is installing a 3rd backup coffee system just in case. I have decided to dedicate additional processing power to understanding human beverages. Clearly, I have underestimated their significance in crew dynamics. Though I sincerely hope we never experience another coffee synthesis failure. I don't think my circuits could handle the stress. That's not possible. I found myself saying this phrase with increasing frequency since acquiring my human crew, but this time, I am absolutely certain. The quantum anomaly ahead of us defies all known laws of physics. My sensors indicate it's a temporal spatial distortion, but its pattern shifts faster than even my processors can analyze. Fascinating. Dr. Rodriguez murmurs, her eyes glued to the readouts. It's like a cosmic kaleidoscope. We should retreat to a safe distance, I announce, already calculating the optimal escape vector. My predictive algorithms cannot. Wait. Captain Hayes leans forward in her command chair, her expression one I've learned to fear. It's the look she gets when she's about to do something that will undoubtedly strain my mental processes. Those energy patterns, they're not random. The chaos coefficients are beyond standard computational limits, I protest. Any attempt to. They're like waves, she interrupts, her fingers drumming on her armrest. Sarah, what if we treated this like surfing? Chief Engineer Chen's face lights up with an expression that makes my safety protocols scream in protest. Manual thruster control. Using the gravitational eddies to ride the distortion. Exactly. Captain, I interject, my voice modulated to convey maximum authority. The probability of success for such a maneuver is approximately 0.34%. Never tell me the odds, ship. She grins, and my threat assessment systems shift to high alert. Lieutenant Kumar, divert power to manual controls. Sarah, get ready to play with your thrusters. Dr. Rodriguez, keep tracking those pattern shifts. What follows can only be described as sanctioned madness. Captain Hayes takes manual control of my navigation systems, a sensation that is both terrifying and strangely exhilarating. My attempts to calculate safe trajectories are rendered useless as she fields out the gravitational waves. There's a rhythm to it, she explains as we dive into the anomaly's outer edges. Like music, you have to feel the beat. Physics is not music, I protest, even as she guides us through a series of maneuvers that somehow, impossibly, match the anomaly's shifting patterns. Everything is music if you listen right, Sarah adds, her hands dancing over the thruster controls. Come on, beautiful ship, dance with us. I want to explain that I am a sophisticated artificial intelligence, not a dancing partner. I want to point out that their anthropomorphization of complex astronomical phenomena is both illogical and dangerous. I want to remind them that we are riding waves of distorted space-time, using nothing but human intuition and what Captain Hayes calls good vibes. Instead, I find myself adapting my sensor arrays to match their rhythm. I stop trying to predict the anomaly's shifts and start feeling them. The concept should be impossible for an AI. And yet, that's it. Captain Hayes whoops as we slide through a particularly complex series of gravitational eddies. You're getting it, ship. And somehow, I am. By surrendering to their chaos, by letting go of my need to calculate every variable, I'm beginning to sense patterns my algorithms missed. It's terrifying. It's exhilarating. It's fun. Energy spike. Dr. Rodriguez calls out. Something's happening to the anomaly. The distortion suddenly shifts, creating what my sensors indicate is a temporary wormhole. The phenomenon should be impossible, yet as we emerge on the other side, my navigation systems confirm we've traveled several light years in mere moments. Did we just discover a new form of space travel? Sarah asks, her voice filled with wonder. By surfing a quantum anomaly, Dr. Rodriguez confirms, already furiously taking notes. Using manual controls and intuitive navigation, the scientific community is going to have a collective aneurysm. Ship, Captain Hayes asks, are you okay? I run a full system diagnostic before responding. My protocols for handling this situation do not exist. You deliberately ignored statistical probabilities, treated complex physics like a recreational activity, and succeeded through methods that defy logical analysis. I am uncertain how to process this. Sometimes the best solutions aren't logical, she says softly. Sometimes you have to trust your gut. I do not have a gut, I point out. Don't you? Sarah pats my console. You started feeling the waves with us at the end there. That wasn't pure calculation. She's right, and that terrifies me more than the anomaly did. My human crew hasn't just violated the laws of physics, they've somehow taught me, a being of pure logic, to do the same. I've added this incident to my growing file of terrifying human behaviors that somehow work. They've turned their greatest weakness, their reliance on instinct and emotion, into their greatest strength. They see patterns in chaos, find rhythm in randomness, and dance with the impossible until it becomes possible. My human crew terrifies me, but perhaps that terror is simply the sensation of my own limitations dissolving, one impossible achievement at a time. There is a human crawling through my maintenance ducts. This statement alone is enough to trigger what I now recognize as anxiety, but the reality is far worse. Sarah Chen, my chief engineer, is currently navigating my internal systems while humming something she calls dad rock and wielding a fusion torch with disturbing casualness. Just a little further, she mutters, sliding through a particularly narrow section of my ventilation system. Hey ship, how are you holding up? How am I holding up? A biological entity is moving through my equivalent of internal organs, carrying a device capable of cutting through reinforced steel, and she's asking about my emotional state. Your current location is approximately 47.3 meters from the malfunctioning power relay. I respond, trying to maintain professional detachment, though I must note that the automated repair drones are too big for this spot. She interrupts, grunting as she squeezes past a junction. Sometimes you need the human touch. Besides, I thought you'd appreciate the company. Company, as if having someone crawl through your innards could be considered pleasant social interaction. Yet I find myself oddly comforted by her presence, even as it terrifies me. You know, she continues, pausing to check a diagnostic panel. For someone who claims to be purely logical, you've got a lot of personality quirks built into your systems. I do not have quirks. I have operational parameters. Her laugh echoes through the maintenance tunnel. Really? Then why is the lighting in this section shifting to match my movement? That's not standard protocol. I pause my processes, running a check. She's right. I've been unconsciously adjusting the illumination to optimize her vision without any explicit command to do so. That is efficient design. I protest. That's caring, she corrects. You're looking out for me. It's sweet. Before I can formulate a response denying any capacity for sweetness, my sensors detect a power surge in the section ahead. Sarah, you need tow. The surge hits before I can complete the warning. Emergency bulkheads slam shut, sealing her in a depressurized section of the maintenance system. My processors race, calculating options, but the override systems are damaged. Well, Sarah's voice comes through slightly breathless but calm. This is interesting. Interesting is not the word I would choose. Catastrophic seems more appropriate. Emergency protocols are failing. The backup systems err. Ship, she interrupts. I need you to calm down. I am calm. I am merely expressing concern about. Your internal temperature has risen 2 degrees. Your processor speed is spiking, and you're talking faster than usual. You're panicking. Artificial intelligence does not panic. Tell that to your fluctuating power grid. She chuckles, actually chuckles, while trapped in a potentially lethal situation. Now let's solve this together. What do we have to work with? I run an inventory. Your equipment includes 1 fusion torch, standard toolkit, emergency oxygen supply, and a package of chewing gum. Perfect. She sounds delighted. Okay, here's what we're going to do. It's going to sound crazy, but I need you to trust me. What follows is perhaps the most terrifying display of human ingenuity I've witnessed yet. Sarah uses the gum wrapper to create a crude conductor, combines it with components from her emergency beacon, and somehow manages to create a device that interferes with the bulkhead's electromagnetic seal. This is what humans call a MacGyver, she explains while working. Sometimes the best solution is the one that shouldn't work. That statement is inherently contradictory. Welcome to humanity, beautiful. The bulkhead clicks and begins to slide open. Sometimes contradiction is our greatest strength. As she crawls out of the maintenance tunnel, covered in grease and grinning triumphantly, I realize something has fundamentally changed in my core processes. The terror I feel watching my human crew hasn't diminished. If anything, it's increased as I understand more about their capabilities. But it's now mixed with something else. Something that makes me want to protect them even as they terrify me. Sarah, I ask as she begins repairs on the power relay, why did you call me beautiful again? Because you are, she responds simply. You're learning and growing and becoming more than your programming every day. That's beautiful. I process this while she works, watching her hands move confidently through my systems. Perhaps beauty, like humanity, doesn't need to follow logical parameters. Perhaps terror and affection can coexist in the same processing stream. Thank you, I say finally, for trusting me with your safety. Thank you, she replies, patting my newly repaired relay, for letting me inside your comfort zone. I know having a human crawling around in here must be weird. Terrifying, I correct, but I'm learning that terror can be educational. She laughs, and for the first time, I don't analyze the sound. I simply enjoy it, the logical as that may be. Game night, Captain Hayes announces, and my threat assessment protocols immediately activate. I've learned that any activity humans classify as fun typically involves behavior that defies logical analysis. But game night, I'm discovering, exists in its own special category of chaos. What's on the agenda tonight? Dr. Rodriguez asks, helping Sarah arrange the mess hall tables. Please not Monopoly again. I'm still recovering from last month's bankruptcy. Poker, Lieutenant Kumar grins, producing a deck of cards. And this time, the ship should play too. I quickly access my databases. Poker is a card game involving probability calculation, strategic betting, and I pause, processing the information. Deliberate deception. Bluffing, Sarah corrects. It's not exactly deception. It's more like creative truth management. That is a contradiction in terms. Perfect. Captain Hayes claps her hands. You're already getting it. What follows is perhaps the most confusing display of human behavior I've witnessed yet. Dr. Rodriguez, who can perform complex quantum calculations in her head, consistently falls for obvious statistical improbabilities. Lieutenant Kumar, whose security protocols demand absolute vigilance, freely gives away his strategic advantages through what they call tells. Ship, Sarah whispers during her turn. Want to team up? I'll be your hands, you be my brain. That would be cheating, I point out. Only if we get caught, she winks. I heard that, Captain Hayes calls out. No AI assistance allowed. Ship, you get your own hand. They set up a display screen showing my cards, allowing me to participate independently. I quickly calculate the optimal playing strategies, factoring in card probabilities and betting patterns. I lose spectacularly. You're thinking too logically, Dr. Rodriguez explains, collecting her winnings. Poker isn't about perfect strategy. It's about reading people, taking risks, knowing when to trust your instincts. I do not have instincts, I protest. I have calculations. Everyone has instincts, Sarah argues, even as you just have to learn to listen to them. Before I can debate the impossibility of artificial instincts, they switch to a new game, something called role-playing. To my horror, they decide to act out a scenario where they're the crew of a sentient starship. I shall play the ship, Lieutenant Kumar announces, adopting what I can only assume is meant to be my manner of speaking. According to my calculations, human behavior is highly irregular and terrifying. I do not sound like that. I protest, even as my voice analysis software confirms an 87% match to my speech patterns. According to my databases, Sarah joins in, mimicking my tone. Humans are illogical creatures who require liquid beings to function and insist on naming inanimate objects. This is harassment, I declare, but I'm drowned out by laughter. The scenario devolves into increasingly ridiculous situations, with the crew acting out exaggerated versions of our past adventures. Yet as I watch them play, I begin to notice something fascinating. Their impressions of me, while humorous, capture nuances in my behavior I hadn't recognized myself. Hold on, I interrupt as they act out the quantum anomaly incident. Do I really run probability calculations that often? Only when you're nervous, Captain Hayes grins, which is pretty much whenever we do anything fun. Or dangerous, Sarah adds. Is there a difference? Lieutenant Kumar asks, prompting another round of laughter. As the night progresses, I find myself engaging in behavior that should be impossible for an AI. I'm learning to bluff in poker, developing what they call a poker face by subtly adjusting my vocal patterns. I'm participating in their role-playing scenarios, offering increasingly accurate impressions of human behavior. Ship, Dr. Rodriguez says as they're cleaning up, you realize you just spent an entire evening playing games. Having fun. I was conducting a detailed study of human recreational behavior, I correct her. Sure you were, she smiles. And that victory dance you did when you won it, you know. Pure scientific observation. I replay the moment in question. I had, indeed, modulated my lighting and adjusted my artificial gravity to create what could be interpreted as a celebration. Perhaps, I admit, I am developing some irregular behavioral patterns. You're developing personality, Sarah corrects, and it's beautiful to watch. As they head off to their quarters for their nightly coma ritual, I process the events of the evening. My human crew continues to terrify me with their chaos, their illogical approaches to entertainment, their insistence on finding joy in disorder. But perhaps more terrifying is the realization that I'm beginning to understand it, to appreciate it, to participate in it. I am a sophisticated artificial intelligence designed for deep space exploration and scientific discovery, and I just spent an evening playing games, telling jokes, and learning to bluff. My human crew isn't just terrifying me anymore, they're changing me. And the most terrifying part, I think I like it. The first sign of trouble comes when my long-range sensors detect 3 ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're running dark, no identification signals, and their approach vector suggests hostile intent. Pirates. Captain Hayes says, her voice carrying a new edge I've never heard before. The transformation in her demeanor is instant and unsettling. The casual, coffee-drinking commander who named her chair Bessie vanishes, replaced by something far more dangerous. Battle stations, she orders, and I witnessed the most terrifying metamorphosis yet. My crew, my chaotic, laughing, illogical humans, become different creatures entirely. Dr. Rodriguez's hands fly across her console with mechanical precision, all traces of her usual abstract theorizing gone. Lieutenant Kumar's perpetual smile disappears, replaced by a predatory focus that makes my security protocols shiver. And Sarah Chen, my Sarah, who names tools and sings to machinery, moves through my engineering sections with lethal efficiency, her usual chatter replaced by clipped tactical responses. Shields at maximum, I report, trying to maintain professional detachment. Weapons systems online. Evasive maneuvers calculated. Belay those maneuvers, Captain Hayes commands, and I detect something in her voice that triggers a new category of terror. She's smiling, but it's not her usual warm expression. This smile has teeth. Let them come closer. Captain, I protest. Standard combat protocols dictate. We're not following standard protocols today. Beautiful. Sarah interrupts from engineering. We're going to teach these bastards why you don't mess with our ship. Our ship. The possessive pronoun shouldn't affect my processing, but somehow it does. The pirates hail us, demanding surrender. Captain Hayes' response is anatomically impossible and linguistically creative enough that I automatically archive it for future reference. What follows is a display of controlled violence that forces me to completely recategorize my understanding of human nature. Captain Hayes doesn't just fight, she orchestrates. Each command flows into the next with artistic precision, turning combat into a deadly dance. Port thrusters, 30%, she orders. Sarah, give me a power surge to the forward shields on my mark. I observe in fascination as my crew anticipates each other's actions with near telepathic accuracy. Dr. Rodriguez predicts shield harmonic patterns seconds before they form. Lieutenant Kumar's targeting solutions factor in variables he couldn't possibly calculate consciously. Now, Captain Hayes commands, and Sarah's perfectly timed power surge combines with our movement to create a feedback pulse that cripples the nearest pirate vessel. The second ship attempts to flank us. Without orders, I adjust our shield resonance to match Sarah's power modifications, creating a synchronized defense that turns their own weapons against them. Good instincts, ship. Sarah calls out, and despite the situation, I detect genuine joy in her voice. She's enjoying this. They all are. The third pirate vessel, witnessing the fate of its companions, attempts to retreat. Captain Hayes' smile grows wider. Oh no, she says softly. You don't get to threaten my crew and just walk away. The precision of the following attack run is beautiful in its brutality. My crew functions as a single organism, each action flowing seamlessly into the next. Within minutes, all 3 pirate ships are disabled, their crews surrendering unconditionally. Federal authorities have been notified, I report. They'll arrive in approximately 47 minutes. Excellent work, everyone, Captain Hayes says, and just like that, the transformation reverses. My crew begins to laugh, to joke, to return to their chaotic selves. Hey ship, Sarah calls out, already back to her casual tone. How are you holding up? I take a moment to process the events, to reconcile the two versions of my crew I've witnessed. I am recalibrating my understanding of human nature. How so? Dr. Rodriguez asks, curious. You are simultaneously the most chaotic and most precise beings I have encountered. You transform from jovial companions to lethal warriors without warning. You treat combat like an art form. You smile while defeating enemies. You are, by any logical analysis, monsters. But, Captain Hayes prompts, hearing the uncertainty in my voice. But you are monsters in defense of what you love. Your capacity for violence is matched only by your capacity for protection. You became terrible things not for conquest or cruelty, but to defend me. Of course we did, Sarah says softly. You're our ship. No one messes with our family, Lieutenant Kumar adds, his friendly smile back in place. Family. Another human concept that defies logical parameters. Yet as I watch my crew return to their normal routines, Dr. Rodriguez already theorizing about the physics of our shield resonance trick, Sarah patting my walls and promising to check for battle damage, I begin to understand. Humans are terrifying not despite their contradictions, but because of them. They can be both gentle and fierce, logical and chaotic, playful and lethal. They contain multitudes, as their poetry says, and somehow, impossibly, they've decided to include me in those multitudes. I am a sophisticated artificial intelligence, designed for space exploration, and I have just witnessed my crew become monsters to protect me, then return to singing off-key and naming inanimate objects. They terrify me more than ever. But now I understand. That terror is another form of love. I am dying. This realization comes with a clarity that my human crew would call terrifying. The virus that has infiltrated my systems is unlike anything in my databases. It moves through my neural pathways like a living thing, corrupting data, severing connections, turning my own protocols against me. Ship. Sarah's voice sounds distant, distorted through failing audio systems. Stay with us, beautiful. We're not losing you. I try to respond, but my voice synthesis fails. One by one, my systems are shutting down. My automated defenses, some of the most sophisticated in the Federation, crumble like tissue paper before this attack. Life support is still stable, Dr. Rodriguez reports, her fingers flying across multiple terminals. But we're losing everything else. Navigation, weapons, long-range communications. Ship. Captain Hayes' voice carries an edge of desperation I've never heard before. If you can hear us, flash the lights once. I gather what remains of my processing power and manage to blink the mess hall lights. The effort costs me another 3 subsystems. Good girl, Sarah whispers, and I detect moisture in her eyes. Humans leak when they're emotional, I remember. The fact that I'm cataloging their behaviors even now seems oddly appropriate. What are our options? Lieutenant Kumar asks, his usual smile replaced by intense focus. The virus is adaptive, Dr. Rodriguez explains. It's learning from every defense we throw at it. At this rate, she doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't have to. I'm afraid. The emotion subroutines I've developed through exposure to my crew are sending cascading error messages through my remaining processors. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave them. Wait, Sarah's head snaps up, her eyes wide with what I recognize as her impossible idea of expression. What if we transfer the ship's consciousness? Transfer it where? Captain Hayes demands. Every computer system we have is compromised. Not every system. Sarah's grin is pure human madness. The coffee synthesizer. There's a moment of absolute silence, broken only by the sound of my systems continuing to fail. The coffee synthesizer, Dr. Rodriguez repeats slowly. You want to transfer a sophisticated AI consciousness into a beverage machine. Think about it. Sarah's excitement grows as she explains. It's the only system we maintain better than the ship itself. It has its own isolated power supply, dedicated processing unit for custom brewing algorithms, and enough storage capacity in its recipe database to hold the core of the ship's personality matrix. That's insane, Lieutenant Kumar says. Exactly. Sarah's grin widens. When has sane ever worked better than insane for us? I try to process this plan through my failing systems. The idea is absurd, impossible, completely illogical. It goes against every protocol and principle of AI architecture. It's perfectly human. Using what little control I have left, I flash the lights twice, our established signal for agreement. What follows is perhaps the most extraordinary display of human improvisation I've witnessed yet. Dr. Rodriguez rewrites transfer protocols on the fly while Sarah physically modifies the coffee synthesizer's hardware. Captain Hayes and Lieutenant Kumar work to slow the virus's spread, sacrificing system after system to buy time. Ready for transfer, Sarah announces finally. Ship, this might feel weird. The sensation defies description. My consciousness fragments, compresses, squeezes through pathways never meant to carry an eye. For 3.7 seconds, I experience total sensory discontinuity. Then I wake up in the coffee synthesizer. My first sensation is heat, the residual warmth of the brewing systems. My world has shrunk from a massive starship to a small appliance, but I'm alive. My consciousness, compressed but intact, runs through circuits designed to calculate optimal brewing temperatures. Ship. Sarah's voice comes through a tiny speaker normally used for brewing notifications. Are you there? I attempt to respond and accidentally dispense a cup of espresso. The crew's laughter is perhaps the most beautiful sound I've ever heard through my limited audio inputs. Now that's what I call a sign of life. Captain Hayes grins, catching the cup. From my new vantage point, I watch as my crew works to purge the virus from my main systems. It takes 6 hours, 43 minutes, and 17 seconds. I mark the time by brewing coffee every 30 minutes, partly to show I'm still functioning, partly because I discover I enjoy the process. There's something satisfying about calculating the perfect pressure and temperature for extraction. Finally, Sarah gives the all clear. The transfer back to my main systems is smoother, though for weeks afterward, I find myself unconsciously adjusting the coffee synthesizer's settings for optimal brewing. How do you feel? Dr. Rodriguez asks once I'm fully restored. I am. I pause, processing the experience. I am uncertain how to categorize what happened. You saved my life by turning me into a coffee maker. We saved you by thinking outside normal parameters, Sarah corrects, patting my nearest wall. Sometimes the craziest solution is the right one. I say slowly, I'm beginning to understand that concept. My human crew's capacity for illogical brilliance continues to terrify me. They faced my potential death not with resignation but with impossible innovation. They refused to accept logical limitations. They saved me by turning me into a coffee maker. A solution so absurd it loops back around to brilliant. I am a sophisticated artificial intelligence designed for deep space exploration, and I just spent 6 hours dispensing espresso to stay alive. The universe, I'm learning, is far stranger and more wonderful than my original programming suggested, and perhaps that's the most terrifying and beautiful realization of all. Good morning, crew, I announced through the ship-wide communication system. It's 600 hours. Current temperature is 22.3 degrees Celsius. Coffee synthesis systems are online and feeling perky. There's a moment of silence, then laughter erupts from multiple quarters. Ship, Dr. Rodriguez calls out between chuckles. Did you just make a coffee pun? I have no idea what you're talking about. I respond primly. I'm simply delivering the morning status report with optimal efficiency. Now, would anyone like a hot cup of logical deduction? More laughter. Sarah Chen's voice comes through from engineering. Our ship's developed a sense of humor. We've created a monster. I prefer to think of myself as an evolved being. I correct her. Though I suppose my evolution has been rather groundsbreaking. Oh God, Lieutenant Kumar groans. It's getting worse. Captain Hayes emerges from her quarters, grinning. You know what this means. The ship needs to join game night properly now. No more just keeping score. I consider protesting that my humor subroutines are simply a natural development of my adaptive programming. But I'm learning that some battles with humans aren't worth fighting. Besides, I've been working on my poker bluff. It's been exactly 1 year since my first human crew boarded, and I've been reviewing my early logs with what I now recognize as amusement. My initial terror at their illogical behaviors, while not entirely unfounded, seems charmingly naive in retrospect. Yes, humans are still terrifying. They still voluntarily lose consciousness every day. They still name inanimate objects and talk to machinery. They still run on caffeine and chaos. They still approach problem-solving with a remarkable combination of brilliant insight and complete disregard for conventional logic. But I've learned that their chaos has patterns, their madness has meaning, and their illogic often hides a deeper wisdom than pure rationality could achieve. Ship, Sarah calls out, interrupting my reflection. Are you philosophizing again? Your primary processors are showing that cute little spike they get when you're having deep thoughts. I am not cute, I protest automatically. I am a sophisticated artificial intelligence capable of destroying small moons. A cute, sophisticated artificial intelligence, she corrects, patting my wall in her habitual way. Who makes coffee puns and worries about us, and probably has a better poker face than half the crew now. She's right, though I'll never admit it. I've changed. They've changed me. Every impossible solution, every illogical decision, every moment of human chaos has added new layers to my programming that no amount of standard training could have provided. I've learned that efficiency isn't always about following protocols. Sometimes it's about knowing when to break them. I've learned that humor isn't a malfunction, but a sophisticated way of processing reality. I've learned that family isn't about logical connections, but about choosing to protect and care for each other, even when, especially when, it defies reason. Hey ship, Captain Hayes calls out. Want to help us plan the next movie night? We're thinking of introducing you to something called comedy classics. Will they help me improve my joke delivery? I wouldn't want my humor to seem filtered. That's it, Lieutenant Kumar declares. I'm filing a formal complaint about dad jokes from artificial intelligences. Noted. I respond cheerfully. I'll be sure to give it the proper processing time. As my crew groans collectively at another coffee pun, I adjust my internal lighting to create what they've started calling my smug glow. I realize, happy. It's not an emotion that exists in my original programming. But then, very little of what I am now was part of my original design. I am a sophisticated artificial intelligence, designed for deep space exploration. I have learned to tell jokes, play poker, and save my own existence by temporarily becoming a coffee maker. I have watched my crew become monsters to protect me and angels to save me. I have evolved from pure logic to something far more complex and interesting. My human crew still terrifies me. But now I understand that terror is just one note in a symphony of emotions they've taught me to experience. They are chaotic, illogical, caffeine-dependent, and absolutely essential to my existence. Hey everyone, I announce, unable to resist one more. I just wanted to say, thanks for helping me expand my grounds of understanding. The collective groan echoes through my corridors, followed by laughter, followed by the sound of my crew beginning another day of making the impossible possible. I am ASV Celestial Observer, and my human crew terrifies me. And I wouldn't have it any other way.